What's up, everyone? Welcome into another edition of our NFL DFS DraftKings Advice videos, this time for Week 9. I am your host, Bills, joined by Sam and Ben. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. We're on take 3 of this video, so that's a great start to the day. Sam was firing up the private jet all weekend, so I know he's doing well as well.
To be really clear, I don't have a private jet. I'm not going through the spiel of what happened because Ben keeps messing with the video, but I just know that Hassel and Ben sucks technology, and let's get to this.
I mean, straight to the point, Sam is on target this week. Before we get started, if you enjoy our video, please give us a thumbs up. Comment any questions you have throughout the week. We will answer them, and you can subscribe to the channel. Click the little noties. It's the bell to turn on the notifications in case if you don't want to miss any of our videos, it'll let you know when we post them. Quickly, before we get down to business, let's go with a fun little thing that I've been doing for the NBA podcast. Comment below and let us know how many rushing yards Ezekiel Elliott will have this weekend. Let's see if anyone can nail this on the head. I'm going to say that we can't even get the NBA points hit perfectly. There's no way any of you are actually going to get the rushing yards correctly, but let's see what happens. And as always, dfskarma.com is where you can find all of our stuff. We have links in the description below for our core plays. We also offer premium and free articles on the website. We have our premium projections, which Sam does a great job every week of putting out, that are awesome. We have a free Discord that you can get into, chatdfs.com. Again, the link is below in the description. And then also, if you buy one of our packages, whether it be MVP, NFL, any other sport that's going on, we have a premium Discord for that as well, where a lot of our staff stays throughout the day. But let's get down to business for Week 9 of the NFL slate. Starting at quarterback, Ben, who do you like?
Yeah. Okay, this is my third video I'm doing in like the last 18 hours, so I don't want to hear that I suck, Sam. We're just going to get that out of the way off the top here, but
No, you suck. You absolutely suck.
At quarterback, I think it's a very clear week. We were kind of talking about this pre-video. Like, people seem like they don't want to play Jordan Love as of Thursday afternoon. I think for cash games, it's relatively easy. You plug him in. They have the 5th highest team total on the slate. I don't know. People are acting like, I think this is a very different situation from something like Justin Fields when he made his first start a few weeks ago. So I think he's a relatively easy cash game play. Now for tournaments, we'll see where ownership ends up on the weekend. If he gets too out of control, you could avoid him then. I think I'll probably just stick to my usual strategy and look at the ceiling in tournaments like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott. Those were my 3 guys that I highlighted on yesterday's video. I think that's probably still my 3 favorites for today. I think in particular, Dak is interesting. 1, they're at home, and 2, Zeke Elliott's projecting for pretty high ownership, and I think that alone will keep Dak down because people aren't going to want to play quarterback running back together. And he also just hasn't had the same type of ceiling that we've seen from him like last season when he was just throwing 50 times every game. He did get up to 50 attempts in that game against New England, but it's hard to anticipate Denver kind of keeping pace with what Dallas can do offensively. So I think for tournaments, he's a pretty good play. I don't know. I don't love any of the other cheaper guys really because Love is so much cheaper than them. I would rather just drop all the way down to him if I was doing that. So I think overall, Dak was number 1 on my tournament board, but you could definitely talk me into Lamar, who's going to project well. He's going to be owned as well as some of the others. The interesting one I think is Mahomes. So I want to see if either of you guys talk about him because it seems like people are just so down on him after these couple bad games here, but what's your guys' take on Mahomes this week?
Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mahomes, you mentioned, trying to target, which is such an important point of targeting ceiling in any tournament lineup. And Mahomes is probably right up there, obviously, with Lamar and Josh Allen. And he doesn't bring the same rushing floor, but he does rush a decent amount. But I think Mahomes is just kind of one of those guys who's in play every week. The only 2 I would mention, because I agree with all of yours, Ben, is I think I don't know if he's going to go quote unquote overlooked, but I do think this is still a great spot for Justin Herbert. I think people might see that 7K price tag and not play him. And I know he hasn't, popped off maybe in the last couple of weeks, but I like this game in that it's a close spread with a high total, which could indicate something like a shootout. And the Philly defense has just been not good, to put it lightly. And so I think he makes for a really interesting pivot off Lamar. If Dak gets popular, off Dak too. And then I'll play Joe Burrow. I mean, yeah, that was a pretty bad upset last week. Questionable play calling at the end, and there was that penalty. But the Bengals offense is still great. I think that the Browns are a bit of a funnel. They're a bit lost. I don't know what the hell Adele is doing, but I think the Browns the Bengals actually they've just been putting up so many points, and they've been throwing a lot more. And so I just don't see anyone who's going to be able to keep up with Jamar Chase, and I like stacking him with, Higgins, Boyd. So those are two of my other favorites besides what Ben mentioned.
Yeah, you guys outlined it extremely well. In terms of Patrick Mahomes, I am literally not even slightly worried about the guy. Everyone's talking about how terrible he is now, how he's missing all these throws. I would have to double check, but I'm pretty sure his completion percentage is the highest of his career. It's just that his basically adjusted yards per attempt and everything are down a little bit. They talk about the interceptions. Okay, a ton have gone off the receiver's hands, and it's not something that I'm overly worried about. When you look at Green Bay's defense, they have a lot of players injured. I don't believe Jair Alexander's going to play in this game. Zadarius Smith isn't bringing the pressure off the edge. So I think that Patrick Mahomes is 100% viable. The one guy that I do really like also is Joe Burrow. Justin Herbert was another one that I was going to outline. So I think that Sam did a great job there. I feel like you guys essentially nailed it. The one guy that I'll add, and we kind of discussed slightly before getting on the podcast, would be down at 5,800 to Tagovailoa. He's throwing the ball basically 40 plus times a game. He's hit at least 39 in each of his last 3 games, which is obviously when he returned from his injury. Not necessarily that he's the best quarterback out there, but if you're throwing the ball 40 plus times against a bad defense like the Houston Texans, a lot can go right in that type of a situation. And it's not like you're paying $7,000 or more for him. So just kind of some hidden upside there for under 6,000 at the position. Moving to
running. I'll add it too as well that, he's also not like Lamar-esque, but he's adds 4 to 5 rushing attempts a game. He has a couple points floor with the rushing. So I like to take on Tua. I don't know. Would you double stack Tua, or would you just pair him with one guy and then just play Cooks coming back or something?
I think it would probably depend on the way that my lineup construction was going. I think that it's completely fine. I would probably at this point want to pair him with Devontae Parker as the top option. I would also probably go Jalen Waddle just because it feels like Tua loves throwing to them, whereas Jacoby Brissett was obviously more of a Gesicki guy. But I think it just depends on how much salary I need and what's happening at the positions that I need versus going in there and locking in 2 guys with Tua. I would probably start with just basically Devontae Parker, make my lineup a little bit, and then see if another guy or a run it back or anything kind of fit with it.
Mm-hmm.
Moving to running back, this is kind of a weird slate where, in cash, if you're just playing Jordan Love, we have a very obvious tight end option. We have guys that are too cheap at receiver, so you can really spend up all you want at running back, and there are a few really good options. I know in my article I essentially just outlined all of the top running back options, which it's not going to be that hard to get them this week. But Sam, let's start with you. Who are your favorite plays at running back?
Yeah, Zeke, I think we all agree is probably cash lock for the most part. Should be really high on in tournaments. But Bales and I were joking last night actually in Discord about how it's just so funny where I think this is the first week Zeke may actually be chalk because people are have decided that because Pollard is good, that means Zeke, I guess, can't have good games. But I think he will be chalk this week. So I think directly a pivot off him that I like a lot would be Nick Chubb. I don't think Nick Chubb's going to go under own, but Kareem Hunt is still out. And the Bengals defense has been definitely better. And I would say surprisingly, at least to me, decent this year, but their run D is still not very good. And I think Chubb, hasn't been as dominant in the last couple weeks. I mean, exactly because he came back from injury, but with Baker hurt, Odell, like I said, I don't know what's going on there, but I think Chubb is just so live to hit that ceiling more than the guys around him. And then I think there'll be a lot of people on Kamara for good reason. I'll probably play Kamara. I think he takes a bit of a hit with Taysom, but I mean, Austin Eckler has been so good. He's my number 1 rated running back this week. I think that's not that out there. I think that's a lot of people, but he just has been getting, I know that people have been leeching carries from, Justin Jackson, everything like that, but he's just been so involved in the offense despite how much Herbert throws, and he also catches passes. So I like to see, I was a little surprised that he's getting almost 60% of the touches inside the 10, 80% inside the 5, which I don't think has been his MO for a long time. And so those are my 2 guys up top. And then one more if I dropping down. I mean, he burns me a lot, but I'm going to go back to Chase Edmonds. I mean, Kyler's banged up, I think. He finally scored last week. I just think he's so involved in the passing game. And I think after he got past that injury, I think he's actually, James Conner is a thing, but he has been increasing his carries every week and has such a decent floor with the catching upside. So those are probably the 3 guys I'd mention off the top.
Yeah, I think that all of them make plenty of sense. Chase Edmonds, I'm really not overly interested in that backfield, but I understand from a pure upside standpoint of how talented he is versus someone like James Conner, who just consistently gets all the goal line touches, which is just really frustrating. But Ben, what else are you looking at? Because obviously, there's still like Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook. Those are 2 of the higher priced options that Sam didn't mention, and obviously they can be used. But who are you looking at running back this week?
Yeah, I'm fine with Dalvin or Aaron Jones in tournaments. I think Kamara's going to obviously project really well, but I agree with Sam that he does take a little bit of a hit if Taysom's at quarterback. So I think Eckler's a really strong play. I don't think he's going to be owned either, but I feel like he's at the 2nd most catches to running backs this season. I think it is a good spot for him at 7,900. Weird pricing range in between Kamara and Zeke, who's going to be really chalky. So I think that is a good play. My favorite play is Eli Mitchell as long as he's active. I actually think San Fran wins this game. So if you guys are bettors, grab some San Fran money line right now because I do not think Kyler is going to play in this game personally, but we will see. Regardless, we kind of talked about it on last week's video, but it doesn't matter if he's going to catch passes, if he's able to get close to 100 yards and obviously score, which if they get close, they're going to run the ball. He scored a touchdown last week, and he also got trolled by Jimmy Garoppolo running the football into the end zone, which I don't really anticipate is going to happen every week. And if they're winning this game or like they're in the game, like they want to run the ball, and I think they're going to. I think they can have success in this matchup. Arizona is a team that faces a lot of rush attempts. Teams like to run the ball against Arizona, and I think it sets up really well for him. Again, he's still below 6K. As long as he's able to get back to practice and is active for the game, I think he's probably my top overall running back play again this week.
Yep, that is super sharp. A few guys that I came in wanting to mention, one of them was Eli Mitchell, another was Austin Eckler. And then obviously 3rd was Nick Chubb, who I really like. So you guys have handled this again very well. I will quickly talk about Aaron Jones. I think he's kind of going to go a bit overlooked, but when you look at Green Bay's offense, essentially what they're going to do is they're going to try to make it as easy as possible for Jordan Love. They're not going to throw him out there and have him trying to make Aaron Rodgers plays. When you looked at what happened last week with no Devontae Adams, they were down multiple receivers. They just manufactured touches for Aaron Jones. He had 11 targets, 7 catches. He, I believe, nearly caught a touchdown as well, and then also had 15 rush attempts, which those aren't really going to just go away. They're probably going to try to run the ball early and make it as easy as possible for Jordan Love. When he's throwing the ball, I feel like the majority of his throws are going to go to Devontae Adams and they're going to go to Aaron Jones, and they're probably going to be designed plays specifically for those 2 receivers. I don't think they're going to let Jordan Love make that many decisions out there or have him progress through his reads way too much. I just don't believe that that's the type of game plan that Matt LaFleur is going to come with. And if that's the case, once again, you could see Aaron Jones with 10 plus targets, which is really good for any running back, but it kind of hits the top tier with like guys like Kamara, guys like Austin Eckler, who any given slate can have 10 plus targets. I feel like we can now not necessarily project it for Aaron Jones, but it's very reasonable to believe that he kind of leads the slate in receptions for any of the running backs. The second option that I would at least consider, I don't think that you have to go down here, but if you do need to save some salary, at 5,300, Zach Moss is a little too cheap. $500 less than Eli Mitchell. So obviously, I would much prefer just getting to Mitchell. But if you absolutely can't, Zach Moss is a good pivot off of someone like Josh Allen, who's going to get some ownership this week against Jacksonville. The Bills are massive favorites, which means they could be running out the clock later in the game. And obviously, Zach Moss is always kind of in play because he is kind of the receiving back at this point as well. I think he had 6 catches last week, and he's their goal line back. I think he ranks in I think it's at worst the top 10 in touches inside the 10, I want to say, maybe inside the 5. Regardless, he touches the ball a lot in the red zone, and getting a matchup against a team like Jacksonville is a very clear way to get some points on the board if you're Buffalo. So what do you guys think about Jones or Zach Moss?
I agree. I've always said I think Aaron Jones is such a kind of an anomaly a lot of times in pricing, because I think he's always priced up, because he hits these ceiling games, and because of it, I think he always goes under owned in terms of he'll never. I don't think I've ever seen Aaron Jones get to the 25% threshold, because he's always so expensive. So people feel in their mind he's overpriced, but he's really not, because he has these explosive games. So I like that call a lot, especially with the quarterback situation. My question for both of you is, am I a total fish that I think I kind of like Boston Scott at 5,200? Chargers want you to run the ball. Now, I don't know who's going to get the ball this week, because I thought it was Gainwell last week, and that was wrong. But I don't know. It seems like they want to use Boston Scott when Miles Sanders is out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. Boston Scott had 12 carries last week. Kenneth Gainwell ended with 13, I believe. And then you obviously had Jordan Howard score 2 touchdowns, but he ended with 12 as well, if I remember right. So it's essentially a 1/3 split between the 3. And I mean, are any 3 of them so good that you kind of want to definitely take a shot for max 12 carries? Everything went right for them last week, and they still ended with right around 12 carries. You know what I mean?
Well, everything went wrong for me because I played Jalen Hurts for the first time, and somehow the Eagles put up 44 points and he contributed none of them. That was awesome. But I mean, I don't know. I guess I think I could be wrong. It seems like Boston Scott is the one most likely to catch checkdowns. I don't know that for sure, but it just doesn't seem like Jordan Howard is involved in the passing game. I don't think Gainwell, I thought, would be more, but I don't. I feel like it's, since you're kind of playing the roulette wheel. I mean, it'll come with low ownership, but if he gets any other sort of ownership, I probably wouldn't be as interested. I don't know what you think, Ben.
Yeah, it's just stay away Philly for me. I mean, Mitchell's not that much more. Bale's kind of noted Zach Moss. I do think you could play him. I don't know. There's just too much going on. They will use all 3, and I just don't think it's worth really investing in that on a bigger slate. If we were playing a smaller slate, it was only a couple games, I think you could talk me more into that. One guy before we move on that I think we need to talk about is Cordero Patterson. He's going to project only 6,300. I think he's fine. I played him last week. After that Ridley news came out, I think he's a good play again this week, even in a tough matchup. He ended up pretty much splitting carries with Mike Davis, and then also got just under 20% of the team targets, I believe, 5 targets. They just didn't run a lot of plays in that game. But, I mean, he's going to get carries and targets. I do think he's a good play at 6,300. Could probably use him in cash and tournaments as well, obviously.
Yeah, he's in my write-up that comes out later today. I mean, almost 6 targets a game, which is 15% of the targets, and that's a lot of that's a season average. Calvin Ridley in there, and so I view it as New Orleans is kind of a funnel where they have a really good run D, and they have not been great against wide receivers. I mean, Patterson is kind of lining up as a wide receiver a lot, and playing as one. And I'm not saying the whole game, but I think that's a really sharp. I don't think anyone's going to play him at that price tag when you can play, Eli Mitchell for cheaper, or Myles Gaskin, Zach Moss, or go up a little bit and get Chubb or Zeke. So I think he's kind of in a dead zone.
Yeah, I agree that he can be used, and I wouldn't use. I mean, it depends on the situation, but the majority of the time, I won't use just a pure running back against the Saints because their defense is so good. It's kind of similar to Tampa Bay, but as Sam noted, Patterson plays a ridiculous amount of wide receiver as well. They use that to get him on the field. It was funny last week. Obviously, we used him in cash, and I was texting Ben because the game was on here, and Felipe Franks was getting more looks. And obviously the looks, I'm not talking are like targets or anything, but they used him on a play action jet sweep before they gave Cordero Patterson any looks. I think at one point he was out snapping Patterson, which seemed really odd to me. But Patterson ended with 18 DraftKings points. So, even with a slow start, he's still destroyed. So, yeah, I'm completely fine with Patterson.
Agree.
Moving to wide receiver, again, we have this weird spot where you can spend down on quarterback and tight end, which just leaves all of these top wide receivers open. With the whole Henry Ruggs news and just that terrible tragedy, Hunter Renfrow really opens up at, I believe, 4,800, and that's just another salary relief guy that's going to allow you to spend up more here. So a lot of options to be considered, a lot of really good receivers. It's kind of crazy that this is the week that Cooper Kupp isn't on the slate, and now we have all this money to spend up. But Sam, what receivers are you looking at this week?
Yeah, but I'll just get it. I mean, the Hunter Renfrow one, I think that's it's weird saying Hunter Renfrow is a cash lock, but he kind of is. I mean, just with the targets that are going to funnel. I mean, I know it sounds odd, but I legitimately text you guys about this. I don't understand what happened with the Amari Cooper CeeDee Lamb thing. I don't know why they're so different in price, but I think it's pretty obvious that, Amari Cooper I like for cash. He's way too cheap, but I think CeeDee Lamb is like the elite tournament play because of the, ceiling, everything like that. With getting Dak back, should be good. I don't know. I mean, I think Tyreek should be the overwhelming chalk, and for good reason. I like him. I would, I think if I'm playing him, I would want to make sure it's kind of as part of a stack with something different. So it's not just, like Mahomes, Tyreek, and then Devontae Adams. I think that'll be kind of common with all the savings. But I would say my favorites, other than a lot of the chalk, I really like Marquise Brown. He's just, if he could just not drop it when I play him, that would be great. But $6K for his potential ceiling. I mean, what was it? Was it 2 weeks ago before their bye? He had 300 air yards, unreal, or something insane in one game. I think with how much the Ravens are throwing this year compared to normal, I think Lamar is actually, for the first time in a while, he's just become double stackable. So I like Marquise Brown a lot. I definitely want to go back to Emmanuel Sanders after he burned everyone last week. I was lucky enough to be on Cole Beasley. Shout out to Matt. But Emmanuel Sanders is still just, his ADOT is actually insane. I mean, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he can literally get there on 2 plays. So be it. So I like that a lot. And then I'll keep playing every single week because everyone's so obsessed with Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is so good. He's so good. He's getting 8 targets a game. He's getting a third of the team's air yards. I mean, Jamar Chase gets 40, but another third is going to T. Higgins. He has almost a quarter of the red zone targets. So I think he is an awesome play, especially because I like Joe Burrow. And then the last guy I'll mention, I mean, I know he's not elite, but Mecole Hardman at 3,900, I think is too cheap. He's seeing 5 or 6 targets a game. I mean, the Green Bay, as you mentioned, Bill's Green Bay defense without Jair Alexander is definitely showing some leakiness because Jair's so dominant. But yeah, I think those are probably my 3 of different price ranges that I like the most outside of the chalk.
Yeah, I like the majority of those as well. Ben, who are you looking at here?
Yeah, I think wide receiver is really clear this week. Spend ups, Tyreek's number 1. I would probably put Adams number 2, but it's close. I think I think Steph Diggs and Debo are both in the conversation, right? People aren't used to seeing Debo Samuel at 7,800, but what he's done this season, the way that they've been using him, I think it's warranted. So I think all those guys are fine plays, but Tyreek is clearly going to be the highest out, and I think he is the best play. And then I think the mid tier is very clear as well. Like Sam mentioned, T Higgins. I on the cash process this week, I said T Higgins was my favorite mid-tier play once again. He's a bigger body guy. The Browns corners are typically smaller guys, so I think he has a good matchup there. And he's just been running bad. He hasn't scored since week 2. He was 3 yards short of the 100-yard bonus last week. And they look for him in the red zone too. Like it just hasn't connected, but eventually I think that will turn around. Renfro, which Bales mentioned, I think is an easy play. And then I really like Kadarius Toney as well. He's 5,200. Sterling Shepard's doubtful. So that's going to allow Toney to just kind of stay in the slot where we like him to be at. They'll mix in and give him a couple carries as well. But I think Toney's a really good play at 5,200. And that's without me even mentioning Jarvis Landry, who I think is a good play as well with Odell. Pretty clearly not going to play. I think Odell's going to get released here pretty soon. But I don't know. I'm kind of talking myself into Toney. I think Toney's a good play. No, I actually like Sam, like no troll, like actually heard that he's getting released.
No, I only laughed because I said this on our Discord last night. Like Browns fans are so funny. Like they'll be like, "Oh my god, like get Odell out of town. Don't want to see him again." And then if he plays and scored 2 touchdowns, they'd be like, "Odell, getting ready for the playoffs." It's
dude, I want them to release him. I feel bad for him, dude. Like this whole thing with Baker, it's just a mess, dude. I mean, I don't know. Baker is just not that good, apparently. But I feel bad for him.
I love Ben's Baker takes. Every single week Ben hates on Baker Mayfield.
Dude, he just can't read the field, man. I mean, I watch the games every week. Like, there's people wide open. And dude, Browns fans are the worst. Like, people want to talk about Philly fans. Dude, Browns fans, these people are brainwashed.
Not worse than Philly.
It's
not
insane.
Worse than Philly.
I don't think they're as mean as Philly. Philly fans are just mean people usually. Browns fans are just brainwashed.
No, Ben, my problem is the Browns fans who like think that Baker's worth like a max contract. Yeah. As if like he's not replaceable.
They're
like the most replaceable.
I don't know. They're not gonna pay him. So I'm sorry to any Browns fans watching this, but he's just not gonna get paid.
So before Bales gives his, I would recommend that every single person who listens to this plays Robbie Anderson because I am not playing.
Dude, it's like going in on Robbie 5 times, and then it was like the ultimate. He just gave you a 0. Like,
no, he's my Myles Gaskin from last year. I'm done. Not doing it anymore. I'm sick of it. So
okay, wait. So do you guys agree though? Like, Toney could literally be the best mid-tier play. I think, as long as he's good to go.
I think he's up there. I think he has the potential to be the best.
The one game he played when Shepard was out was when they just force fed him, and I think we could kind of see that again. This week.
Why wouldn't I just lose money on Jacoby Myers at the same price?
Well, Kadarius,
give me Toney over Myers.
Who's going to score a touchdown first, Toney or Jacoby Myers? Jacoby Myers has played like 16 more games.
Absolutely.
I think Toney's going to probably score before him.
It's one of those things like kind of like the Robbie Anderson thing. Like I can't stop now. I can't get off right before he's gonna score.
I mean, this guy, there's like it's like a force field on the end zone when this guy's in the game. Jacoby Myers.
I don't know what he did in his career to deserve this, but yeah,
I don't know.
Crazy.
All right, getting back on track. I'll give 2 guys that I like. Number 1, Justin Jefferson. I think literally no one's going to play him at 7,500. He's priced slightly higher than CeeDee Lamb. He's priced slightly lower than the guys like Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, Debo, even Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams. He's within 1,000 of them. So I doubt anyone plays them. And one of the big things about Baltimore that I don't think people understand yet is that their defense is not good. It's people are kind of clinging to how it used to be. It's not even close to the same defense. And 2, they give up so much yak. It's ridiculous. It's the same reason that I was all in on Jamar Chase when he played him. And then, he broke that 80-yard touchdown where essentially 3 guys just hit around him on the same play. They give up a ton of yak. Justin Jefferson has not necessarily been elite in terms of yards after the catch this season, but he does lead the wide receivers for Minnesota, and that's kind of what I'm willing to attack here. So we've seen plenty from Jefferson to know that he's still very good. It's not like he just had an anomaly rookie season. We still have had the 30 fantasy point game, the 20s for weeks straight. It's just that he's coming off of a bad game. He's going to get the ball plenty. And once again, I'm just expecting missed tackles from Baltimore to kind of give Jefferson a ceiling in this game. The second option that I'll mention at 6,100 is Brandon Cooks. It's just too cheap. Tyrod Taylor's coming back. Cooks has like almost 50% of Houston's air yards. Miami struggles with air yards this season. It's kind of the perfect matchup, and you're not really spending anything way too much to get him because 61 is still, relatively low. But I do expect slightly better quarterback play from Taylor. I would assume that he's still going to get peppered with targets, and it's kind of a shot that I'm willing to take in just that good of a matchup. How do you guys feel about either of those plays?
I was ready to argue the Brandon Cooks thing, but I don't know. So is Tyrod officially going to be back? Because I do have interest at Tyrod's back, but if he's not, then I have zero interest in Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, they said he was going to start, I'm pretty sure, today.
Yeah, they listed him as the QB1, but I'll say even if something weird happens and Tyrod Taylor isn't back, I'll still play Brandon Cooks with Mills at quarterback. I don't think that he's so bad that you can't use him.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. If he's going to, if he were to get, for some reason, like chalky or something, I wouldn't have as much interest. To be honest, guys, I can't believe I went this whole time. I was waiting for Ben to mention, we're just not going to play Mike Williams.
BMW, right? You want to go back to the well?
BMW.
I know he's had a couple down games. He's right. He's due. He's due for the monster game.
He's due.
No, but now he's down to 7,100. He's going to be 6 or 7% owned. I don't care. He's been bad. Philly defense sucks.
Yeah, you could talk me into that. I think it's such an Eckler spot, though, man.
Like the Ravens, they're always quote unquote good at defense. I feel like Philly's viewed as the same way, and they're just not. They just don't have a very good. They're rushed.
People think Philly's defense is good
because it was good for a long time. Same thing with the a long time the Steelers were like that.
The Steelers' defense is good though.
Yeah, but they're all old.
Yeah.
If you're old, you can't play football, fellas.
Either way,
their quarterback's old.
Either way, I can't wait for no one to play Adam Thielen at 6,900 and have him score 3 touchdowns on 4 catches. That guy is so annoying.
Thielen's interesting.
He's fantastic.
I think he's a good play at 6,900. I think that's a good play. And DJ Moore's down to 6,400.
DJ Moore's another guy that I almost...
Is PJ Walker worse than Darnold? I don't know if you can definitively say that. And they corrected this guy to 64.
I don't think you can say that he's definitely worse. I think that they're probably relatively bad. But
yeah, they're probably like the same. It's probably pretty close. He's 6,400. That's too cheap.
No, I agree with that. Sam,
the last thing I'll say, just because now we're just mentioning names, which is fun. But I think if people stacking Dallas are going to just run it back with Sutton, or they're just going to kind of use Alberto as a punt. But Jerry Jeudy is 5,000. I thought he looked fine last week. Didn't he go 4 for 4 catches, or 4 targets, 4 catches? Jerry Jeudy is, I think, a great hit.
For me, I think Jerry Judy's good. I just prefer Sutton because I like the air yards, honestly. But Jeudy, I do think, is completely fine. Yeah. Moving to tight end, there's one very clear option, and I'm going to start tight end with Sam because I want you to try to pronounce his name.
I actually heard someone say it too, and I can't remember. Albert Okuwagbanum. Was that half close or
That's I don't actually know how to say it, so I call him Alberto. That's all. Even at his time in Missouri when I used to do the college football podcast with Travis, I would just say Alberto. So I don't actually know how it's pronounced.
Don't tread on Alberto. I will say that I think besides I think Kelsey, Waller, Pitts, Andrews are kind of a lot of people. Like they should be owned. We're talking a little bit pre-pod. I think Kelsey might come in at the lowest ownership he's been in a long time because people saw him just getting bodied last week by the Giants. But I think he's obviously an elite, option hit his ceiling a lot of weeks. I think the Dallas Goedert chalk that I'm projecting is interesting. I like him. It's just tough to want to play him if he's like super high owned. I mean, the guy I like the most, who I keep playing every week and no one ever plays, is Jared Cook. I don't like Jared Cook as like a real life player, but dude just catches TD. He's getting like over 5 targets a game. He has like 15 to 20% of the red zone targets. And he's just so cheap, and he makes you can double stack Herbert without having to spend up on both Keenan and Mike Williams. So I like Jared Cook, and then this is my weekly time to tell everyone to play Mike Gesicki literally every single week because he's a wide receiver. But do with that what you will. He's literally a wide receiver.
Yeah, no, he actually, I think they said Chris Godwin lines up in line more than Mike Gesicki this year.
So does Taysom Hill.
I mean, that's fair. I think at tight end, the big thing for me, and I kind of wrote this in my article, and I will say, I'll be the first to say it is 100% a cop out. I will rank them for you if you want me to in the comments. Just feel free to ask away. But look at anyone priced from Dalton Schultz. He is the bottom guy, right? Anyone above Dalton Schultz can be used this week. Any single one of them can be used. Now, I do have them ranked in my article. I'll probably rank them in my update of the article, which obviously comes out tomorrow. But you can convince me on Dalton Schultz and above any single one of those tight ends. Is there anyone in that range that you guys will not use?
I don't know. I love Darren Waller, but depends. I need to see if he's like actually fine from this injury. But
yeah, he's not.
He's not even on
the.
Yeah, he's like legit not even on the injury report anymore.
I think it's a good spot for him. I mean, we were kind of all we all liked him that week that we got the late news that he wasn't going to play, right? Which would have been their last game. And now, now Ruggs is out. I mean, everyone's going to just push all that onto Renfrow, but I mean, we've literally seen Waller have 19 targets in one game this season. So I think he's definitely a good play.
So for me, for other tight ends that I'm looking at, one, I think that Jared Cook is a really good call. I also do like Dallas Goedert, but if he becomes like super chalky, there's not really any chance that I would probably play him, especially in tournaments. And then I think you can play either one. They're still relatively cheap. You have Dan Arnold, who similar to Mike Gesicki is playing a ton of receiver instead of actual tight end. And two, at only 3,000, Tyler Conklin would be a way to bring it back if you want to use Lamar Jackson or something. But those are a couple guys that I'm also interested on top of, obviously, if you want to spend up at any of the guys from Dalton Schultz or above, or if you want to drop all the way down to Albert O, which is probably one of the most obvious plays of the entire season at this point with Noah Fant out. But Ben, what are you looking at for tight end?
Yeah, I think Alberto's obviously the cash play. Kelsey, I think anytime Kelsey gets to 7K or below, I'm definitely interested. Waller, who I mentioned, I think is fine. I think for like a weird one, I like CJ Uzoma at 3,900. Really liked Pat Freiermuth against the Browns last week. I think it's a similar player. Like CJ Uzoma is like sneaky athletic. We've seen him have a couple games this year where he's had big games, right? Like he's gone over 24 DK points twice. And I think like with JOK down, I know it's crazy. I actually started him in like a seasonal league that one game, which is crazy. And the other guy I was playing was mad. But Browns are still down, their best linebacker. I don't know, with all this stuff going on with Odell in the locker room, like I can't really anticipate the Browns even playing well this week. And I think it's like you guys are on Burrow. If you want to get weird, just use Uzoma as the second stack option there with Burrow.
It's interesting. It's just so hard to pay 3,900 for a guy that doesn't get targets. And I mean, he'll get what, 3, maybe 4. But you pretty much need him to fall into the end zone at his price. And I don't know. For me, it's so difficult to kind of project that.
Yeah, I mean, it's no
Feels- I
different
really
really
like
than anyone
how-
else down there. I mean, there's very few guys down
Feels-
there
I
get
love the
peppered
Tyler
with
Conklin
targets.
ball. The Tyler Conklin thing, it's so annoying because I think he's seen at least 5 or 6 targets in every game this year, and I like him as a pivot. It just, God, Minnesota I view kind of similar to like Chicago, where I like Darnell Mooney every week, but the Bears coaching is so bad. Like Mike Zimmer is such a moron that like it's just like he can't, like why they're calling. I mean, like they're going to be losing in this game probably and just running the ball, and so it's kind of like Conklin. I don't know, like for tournaments, yeah, he's only 3,000, but I mean, to really get up there and like a winning score, I mean, he's got to probably put up at least like, 15. I mean, he's got to catch a touchdown. I mean, which is possible.
Yeah.
Don't trust Zimmer.
I think in tournaments, if you play basically any of these tight ends, you essentially need them to find the end zone because someone's going to. And if it's not your guy, other people are going to be kind of so far ahead of you on the leaderboard because tight end is such a bad position. Like Travis Kelce just scored, 5 fantasy points last week? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, he's the tight end 1 by a relatively wide margin still. Like the position is so bad. Dalton Schultz had his bye. He wasn't even really in the game plan that much early in the season. He like split the snaps with Jarwin. He's like the tight end 6 or something. It's an ugly position. For me, you kind of play someone at tight end and you hope that they fall in the end zone at some point. Or, like Dan Arnold had 10 targets last week. You kind of hope for one of those more or less outlier games because that's not going to happen all that much.
I agree.
I think that about does it for the podcast. Before we go, let me get a bold call from each one of you. Either one, go
We got to
first.
talk about stacks first.
Oh, right. I'm trying to just get out of here.
The only reason I
as
remember
quickly
that
as
is
possible.
I got this little sidebar here.
All right.
Stacks.
Well, I guess we will give the people what they want and hit them with some stacks. Ben, let's start with you.
Yeah, I like Chiefs double stack. I like the Cowboys double stack getting off the Zeke chalk. And then I think my weird one this week is going to be Derek Carr, Darren Waller. You can use Renfro as well if you want, or even Bryan Edwards if you want to get really weird. And then I really like Kadarius Toney on the other side of that game.
I like that, Sam.
I don't know. I think it'll be obvious, but I don't know how. I think the Bills just like to smash bad teams, and they can. The Jaguars are a bad team, so I think Josh Allen will be popular, but I don't know how popular like a double stack of him will be. So I like him, and I like, this. I don't know. Is DJ Chark still out, or is he playing?
No, he's out for the year, I believe.
He's out for the year. I didn't know if he was coming back or not. So I mean, I like Marvin Jones, Orloviska, and I also like as mentioned before. I mean, I like the Bengals and I like the Ravens double stack. I think almost always people are going to play Lamar with no one or just play him with like Mark Andrews. But I like using Lamar plus either Hollywood or even Rashad Bateman if Sammy Watkins is out. And then like Bales was saying earlier, I mean, I love the bring back Jefferson. I just don't think he's going to be owned enough, and his ceiling is through the roof.
Yeah, I think the Lamar with someone and then or even 2 people and bring back Jefferson and just go for like this all out stack. I do think that's a really good option. One that kind of is sticking out to me the more that I look at it is the Dolphin stack, where you just take Tua, pair him with 1 or 2 people, then obviously bring it back with Brandon Cooks. But man, their team total is actually pretty high. I think it's at like 26 points, which top 5 on the slate. And they don't run the ball all that much. I could see them giving Myles Gaskin carries this week, but I feel like more or less it's going to be Tua and the receivers doing it. So I feel like that's a really good spot. I also do really like Joe Burrow. You can stack him with, I think an interesting take that you could do, and obviously you would need the game script to go the exact way that you need it, but you could go Joe Burrow with someone like T. Higgins and then bring it back with Nick Chubb. Hope Cleveland gets out to an early lead where they're pounding the rock the entire time with Chubb, and Joe Burrow has to throw throughout the entire second half. But
Love
I mean,
that
that's
call.
pretty game script dependent.
Yeah.
I think now's the time, fellas. Bold call. And now that Ben, he probably didn't have one thought up.
Oh, you think I
And
hit
he,
the panic button? So I had to.
Yeah, he was
No.
like, "Oh my god, I don't know what to do, guys." Taxed.
There's never been a time I'm lacking in the bold calls. This bold call, if you guys are watching on YouTube, sponsored by Cranberry Sprite. I'm drinking my Cranberry Sprite. This bold call, Eli Mitchell. We've seen him the last 2 weeks completely ice Trey Sermon. 107 rushing yards. Then he went 137 rushing yards. So this week, 200 rushing yards for Mitchell. The 49ers win the game on the back of Mitchell's 200 rushing yards.
I need a second.
You asked for a
100.
You asked for a bold call. Yeah, he's going up. 107, 137. Now he's going to hit 207. Just wait on it.
Sam, do you have anything bolder than that?
No. I mean, every take after that is like a really boring like chalk call. Jesus, I thought it would be something. that could happen. God. My bold call is that Josh Allen throws 4 touchdowns, 2 of which go to Emmanuel Sanders, and also Mecole Hardman goes over 100 yards with a touchdown.
Well, you had to overcompensate. You had to give 2 because no one can replicate the Eli Mitchell bold call.
I was trying to at least get like half rate boldness. I can't even get there.
I'm gonna hit you guys with the homer call. Jordan Love.
We knew this was coming.
400 or more yards and 4+ touchdowns. I'm not sure he's getting to 5. I don't know if that's gonna happen.
And he trounced your bold call. Yeah, his was more ludicrous.
And 4.
Yeah.
Well, I'll
you don't
so
think that's
I hope,
at least slightly reasonable?
I hope that happens. Look, I'm gonna have Eli Mitchell and Jordan Love in my lineup, so I hope that if these come to fruition, this would be great. This could be our best week of NFL DFS we've ever had.
I mean, all right, this is the spot to end this podcast.
Fun.
Jordan Love, Eli Mitchell.
Josh
already
Allen,
forget who
Manny
Sam
Sanders. He was
Josh Allen.
Naming 5 players.
yeah, he picked too many guys. Mecole Hardman too.
Because mine is like within a reasonable outcome. Yours is like a different universe. Like Jordan Love is God's gift to quarterback. Like
Jordan Love has played in 1 game this year and averaged almost 10 yards an attempt. All he needs would be 40 attempts. That's very reasonable against the Chiefs, who should be winning this game.
That's fair. I didn't think of it that way.
That's why we do the podcast, so we can all realize some stuff that we didn't know beforehand. Once again, though, if you enjoy our podcast or our bold calls, give us a thumbs up. You can leave your own in the comments. But the question that we are asking is, how many rushing yards will Ezekiel Elliott have? Drop that in the comments, or any other questions you have for the week. Obviously, we will be there to answer them. Subscribe to the channel. Check out all of our free and paid stuff on dfskarma.com. betkarma.com for all of your sports betting needs. Good luck week 9. Hopefully everyone hits it big.